On January 11, 1942, the Battle of Kuala Lumpur took place. It was a battle between Japanese invasion forces and the British forces in Kuala Lumpur, the then capital of the Federated Malay States, a British protectorate. Beginning in late December, Japanese forces carried out bombing raids on the city and ground troops reached it by January 11, 1942. The battle formed part of the Empire of Japan's sweeping offensive across the Pacific that began in December 1941 with attacks and invasions stretching from Pearl Harbor to island chains throughout the region, including the Philippines, Malaya, Borneo, Burma, and Thailand. The Malayan campaign that preceded this engagement started shortly after midnight on December 8th with the invasion of Kota Baru. On January 11, 1992, a coup d'etat took place in Algeria. Concerned by the FIS victory in the first round of the 1991 parliamentary election, the army took action and canceled the electoral process to prevent the formation of an Islamic State in Algeria. The army compelled President Chadli Benjedid to step down and installed the exiled Mohammed Boudiaf as the country's new president. Military leaders justified their actions by claiming they were protecting Algeria's republican institutions from political and radical Islamist forces and preventing the country from becoming a theocratic state. The coup ultimately triggered the outbreak of the Algerian Civil War. The conflict began gradually as the government initially seemed to have suppressed the Islamist movement. However, armed factions soon emerged and declared jihad, and by 1994 the level of violence had escalated to the point where the government's ability to survive was in question. By 1996 to 1997, it became evident that Islamist groups had lost broad popular support, though fighting persisted for several more years. Often referred to as the Dirty War, the conflict was marked by extreme brutality and widespread violence against civilians. Islamist terrorists frequently targeted journalists. More than 70 were murdered, as well as foreigners, with over 100 deaths reported. Many observers believe that responsibility for atrocities extended beyond Islamist groups, as government security forces were also implicated, partly due to their infiltration of insurgent organizations. Children were widely exploited, especially by rebel groups. Estimates of total deaths vary widely, ranging from about 44,000 to as many as 100,000 to 200,000. The war formally began in January 1992 after the Islamic Salvation Front, a newly formed and highly popular party, appeared set to defeat the ruling National Liberation Front in the December 1991 parliamentary elections. The military canceled the elections after the first round, took effective control of the government, and forced reform-minded President Chadli Benjedid to resign. The FIS was outlawed, thousands of its members were detained, and Islamist terrorist groups quickly formed, launching an armed struggle against the state and its supporters. These terrorists organized into several factions, most notably the Islamic Armed Movement, which operated mainly in mountainous regions, and the more extreme Armed Islamic Group, which was largely urban-based. Adopting the slogan, "No agreement, no truce, no dialogue," the GIA broke with the FIS and declared war on it in 1994 after the FIS pursued negotiations with the government. Meanwhile, the MIA and smaller groups consolidated into the Islamic Salvation Army, which remained loyal to the FIS. After negotiations collapsed, elections were held in 1995 and won by the military-backed candidate, General Liamin Zeroul. The GIA continued fighting both the government and the AIS and carried out a wave of mass murders targeting entire villages and neighborhoods, reaching a peak in 1997. These massacres led to defections and internal splits within the GIA. Under pressure from both the state and the GIA, the AIS declared a unilateral ceasefire in 1997. That same year, parliamentary elections were won by a newly formed pro-military party aligned with the president. Following the election of Abdelaziz Bouteflika in 1999, violence declined significantly as many terrorists surrendered under a new amnesty policy. The remaining elements of the GIA were largely eliminated by 2002, with the exception of a splinter faction, the Salafist Group for Preaching and Combat. In October 2003, the GSPC pledged allegiance to al-Qaeda and continued an insurgency that later expanded beyond Algeria into the wider region. And 30 years ago, on January 11, 1996, STS-72 took place. It was a Space Shuttle Endeavour mission to capture and return to Earth a Japanese microgravity research spacecraft known as Space Flyer Unit. The mission launched from Kennedy Space Center, Florida on January 11, 1996. The 6 astronauts consist of Commander Brian Duffy on his 3rd Space Shuttle mission, pilot Brent W. Jett Jr. on his 1st Space Shuttle mission, Mission Specialist 1 Leroy Chow on his 2nd Space Shuttle mission, Mission Specialist 2 Flight Engineer Winston E. Scott on his 1st Space Shuttle mission, Mission Specialist 3 from Japan Koichi Wakata on his 1st Space Shuttle mission, and Mission Specialist 4 Daniel T. Berry on his 1st Space Shuttle mission. That's all I have for today. If you like these events, don't forget to leave a comment down below and subscribe. And those who are from Algeria, never forget that bloody civil war. This is Stephen Luke, and I'll see you next time for another history update. I hope you all have a nice day, and happy Sunday.